Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Sketch Podcast. This is John, and I am here once again with Bob Hickey and Bill Nichols. And before we do anything else, we really want to thank everyone who listened to, downloaded, and otherwise was a part
Promoted.
of,
Hmm.
promoted, and otherwise was a part of our first two podcasts. We're extremely happy that we're now on iTunes and both podcasts are doing well. So we all want to give all of you a great big thank you. And we hope that you continue to enjoy the podcasts. And here we go. Today, our subject is going to be building the perfect portfolio. We happen to be three people who have been dealing with this subject for many years. So let's open it up. What do you think about portfolios, guys?
Well, portfolio is a couple of things. One, it is a resume of your work, whether it's writing portfolio or drawing portfolio, but it shows you. It is also a representation of you in a lot of ways about what you're capable of. In some instances, it kind of depends on how long your portfolio is, but it can also show how you have progressed. But hopefully, if it's really old, you've moved on to the newer samples. But I love portfolios. I won't say I love being in portfolio lines, but I learned a lot in portfolio lines, and then doing portfolios, giving portfolio reviews. Sometimes it's hard to be objective about your own work, but in looking at someone else's their pages, their talent, you can see things that maybe you can relate to yourself and incorporate into your own repertoire. But I love portfolios. Go ahead.
Bill, do you feel like there's two portfolios though? There's a portfolio that you have on your table showing your work, which you can do from your early work to your current work to show progression. But
Hmm.
that's not the portfolio you want to take to, say, Marvel.
No.
What you want is your latest 6 samples, latest 8 samples, because they give you a few minutes and they're done.
Right.
And they're either instantly impressed or they're instantly giving you criticism and move on. Correct?
Right.
So, uh-huh.
Yeah, in just a few minutes, you want to show your best stuff. You don't want to bring uh, the stuff you did 6 years ago that maybe it's your favorite story, but in most cases, people their styles change and their talent grows, and they learn things along the way. And I mean, I have heard it, and it is a joke in some cases where someone will say that, I left my best, my better pages at home, or they're still on my drawing table. And
I've heard
if
it
you're
many times.
right, and you don't want to hear that if you're looking at someone's portfolio because you want to see their best stuff now
Right.
and get that impression now.
I think another important thing is to figure out what you want to do with this portfolio. Are you going after Marvel, DC, an independent thing with Image or Dark Horse? Are you going after like Transfusion slash Caliber? Or you want to do crime stuff or horror stuff? And you need to build your portfolio around, or are you going after several things, which could mean you build several portfolios? Because taking a superhero portfolio that you would show Marvel characters, you wouldn't take that to like a Transfusion or somebody like that and show it to get horror or crime work. Two different art styles, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Well,
Right. Yeah, because you want to not only gear it for, say, what company you're trying to get work from, but also sometimes a certain project or something that you think is your strength, whether it's drawing mecha, armored characters kind of thing, or organic things. Because I've seen Iron Man done with some organic looking armor,
Mm-hmm.
not intentionally, and then some very shiny armor. And it's kind of your approach, and it also depends on your storytelling, what effect you're trying to achieve. But yeah, you have to gear not only your work for that few minutes that you're in front of an editor or a portfolio reviewer or whoever happens to be doing it, but also some of the other people around you,
Right.
because you not only are showing off to them, but they're showing off to you, and that's a wonderful opportunity right there just to make friends. But yeah, I mean, you definitely want to think about who you're shooting for.
Right. Right.
What are your goals?
See, John, I told you this is a good thing to talk about. We got Bill talking.
Yeah, definitely. But I want to make real sure we're not jumping too far ahead of ourselves here.
Okay.
We seem to be kind of in the middle of the conversation.
Okay.
I want to dial it back all the way to the beginning of the portfolio itself in the abstract. Does the portfolio look like?
Okay.
What does the case look like? Like for me, if you're serious,
hmm
you cannot come up with a folder full
Oh
of
my
loose
gosh.
paper
No.
and lay that out on some editor's table. You have
No.
got to plunk down the money and
But
buy the leather
no,
portfolio with the pages.
you don't even have to buy those anymore. What we have, I say we, of course, BlueLinePro.com.
Right.
We have these really nice vinyl 11 by 17 portfolios because the big publishers, their original artwork is 11 by 17.
Right.
And you can slide in copies or originals into these. The pages are bound, and I think they're under 15. They start around $15, and nicer ones get up to 25 or something. They're cheap, and it's
But
a
they are
great way to
bound.
store
Yeah.
your books. You do not want to stand there and hand 6 pieces of artwork out to an artist loose leaf. That's the worst thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to walk up with this huge 30 by 40 portfolio and set it up on the table and say, "Here's my art." No. You want to keep it. What's a standard, Bill, as far as quantity of pieces?
I would say a good target is 5 pages.
Right.
I mean, you can go 6. You can maybe go
No
8.
more than 10.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to
8 to 10.
overwhelm somebody. Yeah, because in that 10 pages, you can show a range of styles, and you can. Whereas in 4 to 5 pages, maybe you caught somebody's attention, but as they kept going, they started seeing, maybe something else, and it's like showing if you're someone who can pencil and ink.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you want to be an inker, or if you're more interested in being an inker, your pencils can throw somebody off because I've seen that happen with someone showing both. It sort of diverts the attention away,
Right.
from whatever maybe you're trying to do at that table for that company, for that reviewer.
Right. So let's look at this, and I'm glad, John, you backed this up.
Yeah.
You're a penciler. You want to show that you can handle from superheroes to, again, like the crime noir, which seems to be very popular right now. If you're into the manga style, into the horror, you need to show that you can draw.
Well,
That you're
yeah,
not just stuck in, I can only draw capes.
Yeah. Not just that. You need to be able to draw regular people standing around, not doing anything unusual.
I mean,
Regular
talking
people
head.
standing around having coffee.
Okay, another thing
know.
is you need to be able to draw the same person. They look the same
Right.
each time. There's not a difference in, you need to be able to draw Clark Kent looking the same several different times that you draw
Right.
him. Now, I agree. 10 pieces for a penciler is very good. You don't want pinups. You want storytelling pages. You want panels.
Yeah, at least a couple of pages of sequentials.
Yes.
If not 4 to 5 pages of sequentials.
Not character designs. Not I can draw a fancy costume. A couple of those is fine, but still, especially if you want to show that if you're strong with doing covers, you want to show some cover stuff. But really, you want to show that you can tell a story, because that's what the editors out there are looking for.
Right.
That you can tell a story. Now, as an inker, you always want a copy of the pencils on the left side, correct, Bill? And
Correct.
A copy of your inks on the right side.
Right.
So and a good clean copy of the pencil, so the editor can look at it and question you. Why would you put those solids there? Why'd you crosshatch here? Why is, you change the lighting and this? All they're going to ask, and you want to give. You don't want to guess what you did. They want to look at it and compare. And again, you want to ink several different samples. Online, there's tons of places to download. Maybe we'll do that at Sketch too. Maybe we'll gather up some inking samples and put high-res copies of them online for people to download to
Yeah, I think people
ink up.
appreciate that.
I mean, I got some Mitch Bird, I got some early Greg Land, I got some stuff we could actually put online that they could download to use as samples. Because how
That's
is
a good idea.
Bill? You've done that probably more than I have. Can you find samples out there? If you're really know anybody?
There are some pencilers who will share their pencils. I'm trying to. I asked this on the Inkwell Yahoo group not too long ago, and there were a couple of suggestions, but off the top of my head, I can't think of them. But
So if we can build a resource at Sketch, it'd be a useful resource.
oh, definitely.
Okay, then
Definitely.
this is remind me, guys, and we'll start building something like that where we post every month. We'll post a couple pages up, some different. We'll try to get a variety of stuff.
Yeah, and I think if we can get some inks for people to color, that'd be a good additional resource.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. So we just added to the Sketch Magazine site.
Yep. But jumping back to that,
yes.
It's good if you're an inker to show. Not only can you do, daytime in the park with people and a dog, and superhero lifting cars over their head, but maybe an outer space scene.
Right.
Or a noir kind of scene, a very dark crime sort of scene.
Right.
You need to show that you can go really dark and really light in the same portfolio so people can get the idea of a range. Because any editor is going to want to know how big your range is.
Right.
If you can pull off the confines of whatever story that they're going to need.
Yeah, can you do Superman and Metropolis and Batman and Gotham as superheroes? And there's a huge difference between the two settings. And then can you turn around and do a crime noir or a horror page?
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. So yeah, and then there's coloring. I think you can show samples of the size that it's going to be published. But you can also, you should probably print out some larger size samples of your artwork because, needless to say, most people are digitally coloring if they're out there looking for a job. And I don't see a problem with using an 8.5 by 11 portfolio for colorists or letterers, either one. I think one of the biggest thing, and I've seen it more in the past couple years, is always have a full set of copies of everything in your portfolio. On the back of every copy that is stapled together is a sticker with your address, contact information, website, email on every page. Not just a business card stapled along with the samples. Put it on the back of every single page in case it gets separated. They hand off your crime noir page off to another editor. Hey, take a look at this guy. He looks pretty good handling this. Superhero stuff's so weak, but this is good. The stuff can get separated. I've done it. So get your name on every piece of sample and always have plenty of samples of your stuff to give away. It's a job application. That sample is your job application. You want to leave it.
But it's also important not to give them this gigantic sample packet.
Nope. Those 6 to 10 pages that you have in your portfolio.
Yeah.
So it reminds them of who you are. Oh, yeah, I remember seeing this guy. Stuff's pretty good. Either going to go in a pile of, I'll contact them, or you're going to get handed off to somebody else. Or you might get an email and say, hey, you know what? This stuff's pretty good, but you need to work on this, this, and this. Which would be a great follow-up because they cared enough to contact you. Right.
Now, that is not to say that the business card isn't vitally important and you shouldn't attach one.
It's not.
Should.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you definitely should. You should always have a business card no matter what.
And the business card is a funny thing. I get handed tons of business cards, and it has their name and their contact, and I'm going, why do I have this business card?
Actually, the best thing I've seen lately that some people are doing, it costs more, but they're putting some of their work on the back.
Yes. I love it where it's like a full piece of their work on the back.
Yeah.
And then on the other side is all the contact information. It tells you why you have this card.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's, it costs a little more, but ultimately I think it's worth it. Because like you said, stuff gets separated, stuff gets lost. Editor might pull off the business card, shove it in his pocket, and, toss a sample in a box.
Right.
Thinking that, hey, I'll call this guy. I've got his business card in my pocket.
Right.
But, if there's not something there that'll let him know, oh, this was the inker kid, then he's not going to know I wanted to call him about inking.
Right. And at cons, when you're packing up the end of the show, you got many boxes.
Yeah,
I
everything
always
just goes into a box or a bag.
always try to take a box and everything I get at a show, samples, artists, stuff. I walk around, pick up stuff. I try to support other artists and stuff, and I'll buy ash cans. I really like picking up ash cans or posters, and they all end up in that one single box.
Right.
So I know it's going to hit my studio. It's not going to get lost in the warehouse. But many other publishers, especially larger publishers, these editors are not in charge of loading up at the end of the day. So if
Yeah.
your sample doesn't hit their personal, folder or portfolio, then the odds are it may or may not get back. So another good thing you need to remember is ask them if you can send them a copy. If they like
Right.
your stuff
Right.
well enough, can I have information to send you a copy? Because many times Marvel DC, your samples never make it back to the office. If you're not handed a job, then it's
Yeah.
real iffy.
Exactly.
So ask them, can I send you my next set of samples? Can I update you with some, stuff that, I'm going to be working on? Get them copies and then constantly be sending them new stuff. Let them see that you are improving. So portfolios are very important if that's the kind of gig you want. They're important if you want to go self-publishing because you got to have something to show. Distributor now asks that you have a full book completed before they would even consider carrying it. There's very important for portfolios.
Well, one of the portfolios we're kind of jumping over, and you don't see them that much anymore these days, but the writer portfolio.
Yes.
We should probably mention that. What would a writer need to have to give out? That's a lot harder to gauge usually.
It is because many times your editors are writers. Many times, not always, but many times. Bill, am I correct? You usually do a couple pages of synopsis, a couple pages of synopsis like Marvel style, and then you do a couple pages, quote unquote, DC style, where you actually break down the panel, the script, the action, and the show that you can write in whatever style they want.
Yeah, because you're just like with the others that are more visual. Within a few pages, you want to show range that you can, how far you can go with to suit whatever company you happen to be talking to or whatever project that you happen to be taking on or want to take on. So
Right.
So yeah, you have to basically show it all.
Right.
But you want to do it in not so much droplets, but you want to do it in a situation where they can absorb quickly or at a glance, because these are professional people in most cases that, occasionally you get, somebody who it just happens to fall on them to do it.
Right.
But and that's usually not Marvel or DC, I guess, but they know writing, they know art, it may be their personal taste and all that, but you want to be able to show in a quick session, because you only have a few minutes, what you can do, your best samples forward.
I would say writers, they also need to have plenty of sample packs, copies, and they need to show within a small sample pack their writing styles in different genres. They need to, show if they're interested in writing superheroes, they need to show superheroes and the whole gambit of, crime.
And I think unlike the others, for the writing portfolio, I think a cover letter.
You know what?
It's really the most important.
You know what catches my eye the most, because this is a visual medium. I've actually had writers hand me a pack, because I hardly ever accept writing packs.
Right.
That their buddy or a friend of theirs did a cover or an illustration they used to sort of put and made as a cover to their writing.
Right.
And so they actually came up with a visual.
Like a logo or something.
Or even like a single character or a scene or something. And then they, like a book cover, basically, I guess you'd be talking here. And, it can be pen and ink, it can be color, it can be anything. But because this market is so visual, it's anything that can give you the edge over somebody. If that editor goes, oh, yeah, that's very cool, then moves on. If it gives you the edge. But I've gotten several writing samples like that in the past.
Generally, if you have a business card, you should probably have some image with it anyway.
Yes. Even writers, yes.
Yeah, even writers. So even if you're just enlarging your logo somehow, at least it gives people something to look at, and they'll go, oh, yeah, I remember that. pencil with the earphones on it,
It's,
for example.
right. We've been talking about show portfolios.
Yeah.
Another way to do portfolios is, and Bill probably knows this more than I do, is DeviantArt, correct?
Hmm.
Online
Any,
portfolios.
right. Any place that shows where you can maybe download a gallery of pictures.
Hmm.
But you can even do that on Facebook somewhat, and some of the other sites. Artesian.com has same capability. I mean, there are more maybe fine artists there I found, but yeah, there are several places where you can put your portfolio. You sort of put everything in there, but you can make a portfolio folder even on some of them,
Right.
and refer people to that online links and all that.
Okay, so we got deviantart.com, is that correct?
Hmm.
Facebook, you would be setting up what, like a photo gallery using the photo capabilities of Facebook?
Yeah, you can do on your page. You can do under photos. You can just make a folder for
Right.
that
And upload your images as if they were
yeah.
photos.
Even Comic Space, which is still around, it's just not used that much, or I haven't found it to be used that much. We talked about that last time.
Uh-huh.
That was probably the first time I saw, really I just really started looking at different people's samples and some of the work that they did, and some people put almost their whole book up,
Right.
or at least what they were working on. So it kind of depends too on how easy it is to manipulate format and downloading or uploading software or pictures or whatever. Some things are just kind of bulky, but those are, I don't know, fairly easy once you get used to them.
Right. And it's important to put that information on the business cards.
Right.
If you have an online portfolio and you need to update it, just as if you would do your show portfolio. You want to, often post new materials, whether it's writing, penciling, inking, coloring. You want to post it.
What do you guys think of making discs or memory cards or something like that for, to hand out your portfolio?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've gotten those, but at the time I got them, I told the guys who were giving them to me, and I mean they brought their laptops and were showing me their coloring samples, and they were really good, but it's like at that point I'd have something that would play that.
Yeah.
And plus, whatever program that they use may not be compatible, and sometimes you run into that too. So you have to sort of think about what you're doing, what you're going to invest in. Go ahead.
It's a cost, and I'm sure it really works for colorists more than just about anybody. But I think you almost do the same with with an online page and a business card with one of your images on it, with a much smaller cost and an easier way to update it. The online has offered so much to us just over the past few years that as artists we should be using. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a way. I've gotten the small disc, I've gotten the business card size disc, I've gotten a full size disc with samples and stuff like that on it, scripts, just all kinds.
So maybe it's a good add-on, but
Mm-hmm.
don't make that your only means of portfolio.
Show me some hard samples right there to get me hooked, and leave me with something that I can continue to follow what you're doing if I'm interested.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think we covered, making sure that you tailor your samples to the company you're trying to get work with. But is there any other particular thing dealing with samples of any variety? Well, actually, let's talk about comments.
Mm-hmm.
When you're actually getting the portfolio review, or if it's a digital thing, when you get comments from people on your work, how best do you think people should deal with those? Because I think we've all seen some people do it badly.
Well, realize that you're asking this person to employ you. So approach it as if it's a job interview. And this person could be your future employer. So you should be as courteous and you should be as open-minded as possible. So yeah, I mean, you approach it as if it's going to be somebody you're going to work for, you want to work for them. Be courteous and open, and take the criticism. Thank them for it. They won't mind looking at your portfolio again when you bring it and see if you made the changes. But yeah, you got to be cool about it and realize that we all have to get better, no matter who you are and what you're doing. Even the top dogs, everybody has an opinion. And even if you say, well, that editor, he's a writer, what's he know about art? He got to be an editor some way, somehow. So he must know something.
And yeah, the two things that I that I was told that I think of the smartest things that I've ever heard is one, don't ever defend your portfolio
You're right.
to the editor.
Hmm.
Like you were saying, everybody has an opinion, and maybe that editor is way off base, but at least give their opinion a little bit of thought before you completely discard what they say.
Right.
And, maybe take something out of that. But like you said, editor could just be a jerk.
Or they could have a
Maybe,
bad day, a bad
yeah,
show.
they
We all have bad days and bad.
right. Or, maybe they're jealous of your work. Who knows? But don't ever defend your work to them. And the other thing that I think is hugely important, you never, ever, ever trash another artist,
No.
especially someone who has work
Right.
and you don't.
Yeah,
Trashing J. Scott Campbell,
right.
and he's got millions of dollars and you don't.
Yeah.
So,
Don't show me your portfolio and says, "Hey, I'm as good as Jim Lee. Check this out."
right.
Because at that point, I really,
You already turned him off at that
yeah,
point. Oh, and the other thing is, if you have adults only samples, leave them at home.
exactly.
I don't care who you're trying to get work for,
Mhm.
even if it's an adults only book. Leave your adults only samples at home.
And if it is adults only book, you can say, "I'll be happy to send it to you."
Yeah, I'll send it to you, but
Sure.
I wasn't going to bring that around.
Hmm.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I've had people defend their stuff to me. I mean, you can sort of express your opinion about what you're trying to do, but it's run the gamut from that to all the way to whining, almost, and not in a good way. But I mean, I understand that people desperately, in some cases, want to be in the industry, and for every person that actually is sitting behind a table, there's 100 other people who would love to be sitting behind that table, no matter for what studio, what company, just for the chance of having that guest badge even. Because people will read your guest badge as you walk through the convention. You want to put your best foot forward in not only your presentation but your demeanor, because these are potentially colleagues, colleagues that you may associate with, and if you're a jerk, then that's going to follow you.
Right.
Um,
Well, you've done more portfolio reviews than I have, probably John. Now, with comicsmentor.com, you offer to do portfolio reviews, correct?
right.
What do you see when you sit down and look at a portfolio and you give them your criticism? What was the reply many times?
Actually, before you get into that,
Okay.
what do you look for? And then say what you see.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing I have to look at is, and if I'm looking at a sample cold, it's talent level, what they're trying to do, where I see potential, and also the faults. What can be fixed, what can be done. So sometimes I'll write back with, if I do it online, with what I would do, what I would try to do instead. And it's always prefaced with, "This is my opinion," where I can make your samples better, if that is possible. And I've had situations where I've looked at somebody's portfolio, and I do it both. I do free ones, looking at samples, but also do what I call the full Monty, where it's repetitive. It's a repeat look at the samples as they develop.
Right.
I've done several of those. So, and there have been situations, and guys are saying, "Look at my stuff. They're good. They're really good. Maybe there's a couple of things, maybe just a couple of hitches there. Fix those hitches." And one guy, David Hillman. I mean, I was looking at stuff. He asked me to look at that he was going to submit to San Diego, and he came away. I just got a message from him today, and he got to talk to guys at Dark Horse and got some positive stuff, and IDW, somebody there, and he didn't get to the big ones because they were so flooded. But I mean, I just really liked his stuff, and I said, if you don't have something positive going after this show, get a hold of me, and we'll do comics, because he was that good. And it runs the gamut really, but that was a situation where there wasn't much that I could do to change, because he was just on it.
All right.
I look at it's presented, and I think when I first started doing portfolio reviews for, I guess it was Night Press, when we were Night Press, and you said, "How can you be so positive? How can you be so diplomatic?" I mean, we've been on the other side of the table, and I don't.
Oh yeah.
I'm not trying to necessarily, make friends or just soften the blow or whatever. If I see potential, then I'll bring it out. If I see something that needs to be fixed, or it can be fixed, or in my opinion should really be worked on, whether it's backgrounds or line weight or page layouts, any of that stuff, then I'll bring it out and I'll bring it up and I'll try to bring your samples forward, and make them better, help you make them better, because I want that for people. And I think that as Sketch Magazine, that's really what we're doing, not just showing people how to do a certain function in the industry and the comic book creating process, but some of these people who are our audience, our readers, are someday going to be contributors to Sketch Magazine, and we've had that happen in the time that I've, my tenure as editor. It's come around to readers, who are now pros or doing pro work, and or maybe they're something that they did in Sketch brought out. Some are doing sketch cards now because we've done features on those, and that really got them thinking about what they were doing, and that their career has taken a different path. But I mean, that's sort of getting off the subject, but it's just such a growth thing that from one portfolio, different things can happen. One sample or one set of samples, different things can happen. So
right,
and that's what I try to bring.
Well, that's an old art school thing too. Is you always try to find something positive to say before you go into what needs to be improved. And I think the one thing that most people forget when they're having a portfolio looked at is the editor is talking about your work. He is not talking about you.
Yeah, a lot of people take it personally.
Yeah, don't take it personally. It's the work. You are not your work. Your work will change over the years if you work at it.
I've been there though. That's so hard.
No, I've been there, and it tears you up. But
because we do this in isolation, and you feel like this is my best stuff.
Right.
Well, it's your best stuff on Monday, August 9th, 2010. Tomorrow it will be better. But it's hard for you to separate that. So I agree with you.
Yeah. No, it's hard, but it's really something.
You have to do it.
You have to do it, and if you're serious about this, you have to grow a thick skin.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to get used to the idea of being rejected 20 times before that 21st time that you get a job. That's just the nature of the beast. That's pretty much the nature of all business. You won't always get every job you go up for. You won't always get anything you go up for,
Right.
So you just got to learn to kind of roll with those.
Right.
Always do your best. Always put your best foot forward, but realize that, it's not always your day.
Right. I try not to do portfolio reviews at shows because I've had people get in my face and basically go, well, who are you,
Yeah.
And, I'll go, well, who am I? You want to show me your samples. But, I've had the honor to work with people like Greg Land and Mitch Bird and recently Renee, because I looked at their samples, I looked at their work and, I was able to help them along. They were able to help me along. But, yeah, I've had people who just get all upset because you want to say, look, you really need to work on your perspectives, or you need to work on your figure drawing, or, this is real good here, but try to pick up over here. And they get real offensive about it. So,
yeah,
unfortunately, I try not to do it. Luckily, I have Bill at a lot of shows. Thank you, Bill.
Welcome.
And Bill seems to take the blunt of it.
Oh, I don't mind. I've not really had. I don't think I've had anybody get in my face.
Oh, I have. Sitting behind the blue line
you're a
tape.
giant, dude.
Yeah. You're pretty big.
You're a giant. No one can get to your face, let alone get in it.
When you stand up, you just look down at them,
Yeah.
You intimidate them, Bill.
So you do it with a stool.
Hey, that's what I'll do. I'll start taking like a 5-foot stool and sit on top of it and look down.
Then your feet will dangle, and then you lose your credibility when you start swinging your feet back and forth.
Right. Now, I won't do portfolio reviews behind the blue line table because I don't want what I might say about your portfolio to reflect back on blue line. Because if I'm looking at your portfolio, it's as another creator. So I will do it if I'm at the Skystorm table or, our studio table or whatever. But, I'll take your samples if you have samples and, pass them on to Bill if he's not there or somebody like that. But I won't do an on-the-spot portfolio review there. It's just, one, it's usually too hectic.
But yeah, I mean,
But
they should be buying stuff to make things
yeah, we
there,
hope
not
so.
not
Buy
getting
a
a
new
portfolio.
portfolio. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yes. I think we've nailed portfolios. What do you think, guys?
I think so.
I think so.
John, updates. What have you posted last week? I was on vacation.
Oh, shame on you. Okay, well, let's see. We'll work from today backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys I hit fairly frequently because they're really good at what they do is a website called idrawgirls.com. For today's thing was a tutorial on drawing Sue Storm, which was more important that they were drawing a female in an unusual perspective position rather than just, the character itself.
Cool.
Wasn't that big a deal. But they were drawing her at a kind of three-quarter view looking over her shoulder. So it's an unusual perspective, and it hits on a lot of those things that most people who draw women have a problem with, which is making them look proportionate, not making the breast or the behind look too big or too small proportionately. So that one was pretty good. And then the guy who wrote the DC Guide to Digital Comics, Freddie Williams.
Yeah, Freddie.
Yeah, he's got a lot of great stuff on YouTube, and he recently did this little series where he goes through and answers questions. And it's kind of fortuitous that we're talking about portfolios because the first video in that series is him talking about portfolios.
Cool.
And the second one I put up was him talking about touchscreen technology, how it really hasn't changed his way of working, but he does mention the recent innovations with touchscreen. So the rest of it, I got on this kick about doing a lot of basics because more often than not, I see people who want to jump right into the middle of stuff without ever learning the basics. If you can't, like we were saying before, if you can't draw simple things like cars and trees and buildings, you're never going to be able to pull off superheroes and epic battles and rocket ships and things like that. So on last Saturday, I did a inking basics. Prior to that, and that was kind of a long one. That was a 4-video one. Prior to that, I did one on word balloons, just the basics of word balloons.
Cool.
And the basics of lettering. One video just on the basics of creating comics. Just a very basic overview of what it takes to make a comic book.
Right.
Really short, but really informative video on that. And then the last one, I kind of tripped over this cute little craft project that this woman did, where she made banthas, the big fuzzy animals that sand people ride.
Right.
She made banthas, little plush banthas. And there was a little interview with her, and then there's a link over to a step-by-step on how she made these banthas. So check that out. That's actually from the Star Wars blog.
Okay.
And the pictures, they're just the cutest little adorable things. And the person who took the picture actually took a sand person action figure and put it on top and put the little toy bantha next to it. And the thing absolutely dwarfs the little toy. I mean, it's a pretty good sized teddy bear like kind of thing.
Cool.
But it's adorable.
These daily posts are where?
These daily posts are on, well, we call it the Sketch blog, but it's actually Sketch at Comic Related.
Okay, so
if you go to comicrelated.com/sketch, you can find these posts every day. If you go to the main page of Comic Related, go to the end of the bar at the top in its own font, there is the Sketch link, and you can click on that. It'll take you right to it. One of the new things we have is we have a reply section. So people, if they like that particular thing, can say so. If they dislike it, they can say so. Or if they want more of the same, more of that kind of post, they can let us know.
Right.
And I really encourage people to use that particular thing to let let me know if they like what we're doing.
Sounds great, John.
Bill, what's going on
Mhm.
over at the bulletin boards? I know you've been active lately.
The biggest thing is our sketch magazine art contest, the Blood and Roses versus the Minotaur art contest that has been judged. We have a winner. That winner was James. I'm going to tear up his name here. Bujoskas. He got the most votes.
Very
out
nice
of
piece.
Yeah, and second was his screen name is DSW. Third was Jeff Whitty, our old buddy Cycle Mud.
Old buddy,
Woo.
yep.
Yeah, and I'm pleased with the entries that we had. I'm also pleased with the the guest judges that we had coming in. We had let's see. Here's a list. Mike Grell, Ron Fortier, Gary Reed, Mike Netzer, Robin Ador, Chris Noeth, Jimmy Palmiotti, Neil Vokes, Laverne Kinzierski, Stas Johnson, Billy Tan, X-Men artist, Joe Caroni, Jim Craig, our buddy Chuck Moore, other buddy Bo Smith, Dan Panosian, and Sean Parsons. I'm just really pleased with the people some of them have some really excellent insights, and if you look at the entries and then you read the judges' comments, you can see for yourself how this many different people, the ones that had time to actually add comments or little critiques or praises or whatever, how each maybe is pulled a certain way by a certain piece, and maybe it's because of their background. But it was good.
I read a couple of them. I thought Ron's thing about the close-up of, I think it was Blood's butt.
Right.
That sort of cracked me up. It was a great contest, and they get some Blue Line gifts. The winner does, and the top 3 gets posted in Sketch Magazine. Is that correct?
Yeah, it may be a couple more.
Okay.
It kind of depends on how much. We had another entry that he had problems uploading, which I didn't find out about until later. But I liked his stuff too, so we may do more. It just depends on time. But we also have we actually have another contest from the last year, the coloring contest, that Dana Frega Sergeant Rock piece, where we had Tim Tilley won that, and we never got to publish it because it was last year. But
a long stretch of no sketches, right? Well, I would say in 41 we'll be owing the coloring contest winners and the Blood and Roses contest winners.
Yeah.
So we will post those in the Alex Ross issue of Sketch, be issue 41.
Right. One thing I want to stress, and I stress it to some of the guys, is that just like portfolios, you never know who's going to be looking at your work, and just by looking at this list of judges, gave votes or comments or whatever, these guys looked at your work, and there's some pretty hefty names in there, and I respect every one of them for giving their opinion and their votes, and I'm glad we got the entries that we did. I mean, it was it was awesome.
You never know who the judges are or who the judges know.
Right.
They could pass your link on to somebody else. So you know what? I can ask to be a judge over here. This stuff's pretty cool. Check them out.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And speaking of links, if people want to go to the front page of Comic Related, on the right-hand side in the Rapid Fire News section, there is a link to the contest and to all the judges' opinions.
Right.
And so it's third one down at the moment. Now that will drop eventually, but
right. Eventually that'll drop off. So after that, they can just go to the community, correct?
Right. They can go to the community, or there's a Rapid Fire News archive that they can always go to, or they can just go straight to, in the forums themselves, they can go to the Sketch Magazine forum, then click on the contest link.
Right.
Then click on the Blood and Roses Pro Art Contest link.
Right.
So it's 3 clicks, or actually 4 clicks to get in there, but it's well worth it. So if you go right now or within a few days of hearing this, you'll be able to get straight there from the front page. But if you miss out, you'll have to search for it. But it's well worth it, and I see exactly what Ron means about
I love that.
about cameras behind there.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was cute. And Bill, you have something next coming up, correct? Are we going to do this again?
Oh yeah. Actually, Danny Mickey was going to be one of our judges, and he's given me a razzing about giving some inker love, especially since both of us are inkers. And I said, yeah, I just need to find a piece. So if you can find a piece of good penciling thing, if we what we talked about before, that we can use for the art contest, we can do an inking one, and we can run the whole show with inking, coloring, lettering, all of it.
Okay.
So yeah, we're definitely doing. We may shoot for contests every month.
Right.
The board has a online contest, but it's an ABM challenge, which is Afterburn Media from our old board. But the winner of that just gets to choose the subject of the next challenge,
which is fun too. That sort of carries over
yeah.
from our old board when we were Afterburn Media before Chuck opened his arms up and absorbed the boards for us.
Right.
There's a lot to run in boards, as we all found out. And Bill was really involved in trying to keep the boards running, so we jumped on with Chuck. And the good thing is a lot of the guys moved over with it, and they've kept that going, which is very, very cool. We should probably give that a little love over on the sketch page too, sketchmagazine.net.
That's a good idea, actually.
We'll talk more offline about that. So
yep.
Pretty cool. Sketch 40 is hitting the printers, and it's no joke. It's been long in coming, but it's coming. Should be shipping within the next couple weeks. I truly apologize for the long delays. I stayed in there, sort of what set it up, and as I've been saying, you can't go backwards. You're going to move forward, and I think the next year, the couple years, is going to be some of the best issues of Sketch we've ever done. If you've been a long-time subscriber, I truly appreciate it. We all appreciate it. Hopefully you've learned something, and we can continue to share our love of creating comics with you in Sketch Magazine and sketchmagazine.net and Sketch over on CR and the bulletin boards. I'm excited next year with some things that's going on this week. Is next year I will get to tour again because of business that was going on prior. I really wasn't able to do many shows. I'm going to be at a couple of shows at the end of this year, strictly what I call walkthroughs. I'm walking about, handing out samples, talking to creators. But next year I'll be setting up again, and I'm excited about it. It's going to be fun. So yeah, I'm anxious to get out there with Sketch, get it going. Next issue, 41, is Alex Ross. The interview's in the can. Bill Love, who's been a big participant in Sketch in the past few years, he is putting an interview together right now. So it's already been done. He's transcribing it, and he'll be getting it in our hands very soon. Another thing exciting about that is we got parts of the interview will be moved over here to the podcast. Bill is officially bookmarking parts of it that won't fit within the written interview that we'll be able to showcase here in the podcast. So as soon as we can get those together, we'll be premiering some of those.
That is awesome.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I do too.
So this has been a good one, guys. We'll have to do this again next week.
Why don't we?
Yes, I think we shall.
What the heck?
Yeah. This all sign off.
This is Bill.
And this is John.
And this is Bob. Thanks for listening.